In our increasingly casual society, the formal rules of dining etiquette may seem like relics of a bygone era. Yet, understanding the nuances of restaurant behavior remains invaluable, not as stuffy traditions to be rigidly followed, but as thoughtful guidelines that enhance the dining experience for everyone involved. Whether you're celebrating a milestone birthday, impressing a potential employer, or simply enjoying a night away from your own kitchen, knowing how to navigate the social landscape of a restaurant demonstrates consideration and social awareness. The evolution of dining etiquette reflects our changing relationship with food and communal eating. What began as practical measures, keeping elbows off shared medieval tables to provide space for others, has developed into a complex social language that communicates respect for fellow diners, restaurant staff, and the culinary experience itself. Today's etiquette blends traditional courtesy with modern sensibilities, acknowledging that while some rules have relaxed, the underlying principle of mindfulness remains essential. This guide explores contemporary restaurant etiquette through practical advice that applies to various dining situations, from casual bistros to fine dining establishments. By understanding these principles, you'll feel more confident navigating any culinary environment, allowing you to focus on what truly matters: the food, the company, and the experience. Digital decorum, managing technology at the table. Perhaps no aspect of dining etiquette has evolved more rapidly in recent years than our relationship with personal technology at the table. The omnipresence of smartphones has created entirely new categories of potential faux pas that our grandparents never imagined. The fundamental principle is simple: be present with your dining companions. When you arrive at a restaurant, take a moment to silence your phone completely, not just switching to vibrate mode, which can still create distracting buzzing sounds against hard surfaces. This small gesture communicates to your companions that you value their company and the shared experience above digital distractions. While it might feel instinctive to place your phone face down on the table, etiquette experts recommend removing it entirely from the dining surface. The table should be reserved for items directly related to the meal, explains Victoria Rothenberg, contemporary etiquette consultant and author of Modern Manners for Mindful Living. Placing phones, keys, sunglasses, or other personal items on the table creates visual clutter and subtly communicates divided attention. Instead, store your phone in a pocket, purse, or jacket, somewhere accessible but not visible. This physical removal helps reduce the psychological pull of notifications and creates a more mentally present dining experience. For professionals who absolutely must remain reachable, doctors on call, parents with babysitters at home, or those awaiting crucial information, contemporary etiquette allows for exceptions with a brief explanation to your companions. If you're expecting an important call, simply mention it at the beginning of the meal, suggests Rothenberg. A simple "I apologize in advance, but I'm waiting for news about my father's surgery" acknowledges both the importance of etiquette and the reality of modern responsibilities. When you must check your phone, excuse yourself briefly from the table rather than glancing under the tablecloth or trying to hide it in your lap. These attempts at discretion are typically obvious and can appear more rude than a straightforward approach. A quick visit to the restroom provides an appropriate opportunity to check messages without disrupting the flow of conversation or dividing your attention. Photography has become another technological consideration in restaurant etiquette. While many diners enjoy documenting particularly beautiful or significant meals, extensive photo sessions can disrupt both your companions and nearby tables. If you wish to photograph your food, do so quickly without flash, and consider waiting until everyone at the table has been served so others aren't left watching their meals cool while you perfect your shot. Napkin navigation. The subtle signals of table linens. Few dining implements communicate as much with such subtlety as the humble napkin. From the moment you take your seat to your final departure, your handling of this simple cloth conveys messages to both servers and dining companions. The meal's formal beginning is often marked by the placement of your napkin. Contemporary etiquette suggests waiting until everyone at the table is seated and your host has placed their napkin in their lap, typically within the first minute of being seated. This synchronization creates a collective beginning to the dining experience and prevents the awkwardness of some diners being ready to start while others are still settling in. When unfolding your napkin, do so discreetly below the edge of the table rather than with a dramatic flourish that might send crumbs from previous uses onto the table or your clothing. For standard-sized dinner napkins, etiquette dictates folding it in half with the fold facing toward your waist, creating a more effective barrier against spills while maintaining a neat appearance. The napkin is first and foremost a functional item, notes James Wheeler, former maitre d' at several Michelin-starred restaurants and current dining consultant. But how you handle it communicates volumes about your familiarity with dining customs. Treat it with natural confidence rather than obvious precision. Temporary departures from the table present another opportunity for napkin communication. When excusing yourself during the meal, place your napkin loosely, not folded precisely, on the chair or to the left of your plate. This signals to servers that you intend to return, preventing them from clearing your place or assuming you've finished. Placing a used napkin on the chair was once considered improper, but contemporary etiquette acknowledges that this prevents food smears from transferring to the tablecloth while keeping your seat marked as occupied. Upon the meal's conclusion, after the host has placed their napkin on the table signaling the meal's end, place your napkin loosely to the left of your setting. The napkin should neither be crumpled, suggesting carelessness, nor refolded precisely, implying the napkin hasn't been used, but rather placed in a relaxed manner that indicates both use and respect for the setting. Financial finesse. Navigating the delicate matters of payment. Few aspects of dining create more potential for awkwardness than the question of who pays and what to order when someone else is treating. Whether it's a business lunch, a birthday celebration, or a romantic date, understanding the unwritten expectations around payment demonstrates both awareness and consideration. When you're the guest of someone who has explicitly offered to treat you, ordering etiquette requires a delicate balance. The traditional advice to avoid the most expensive menu items remains sound, but a more nuanced approach involves taking cues from your host. Let the host order first, recommends social anthropologist Dr. Mariah Bennett, who studies dining customs across cultures. This establishes not just the price range they had in mind, but also the overall approach to the meal, whether they envision a light lunch or a multi-course experience. If your host encourages you to order anything you'd like, it's still considerate to stay within the middle range of the menu rather than immediately selecting the premium seafood tower or the aged Wagyu steak. When the host makes specific recommendations, the lobster here is exceptional or you must try the chef's tasting menu, you can confidently follow these suggestions regardless of price, as they've explicitly indicated their comfort with those selections. For alcohol, follow similar principles. If your host orders a bottle of wine for the table or suggests cocktails, you may comfortably participate. If they order only water, follow suit unless they specifically encourage you to order differently. When in doubt, a simple "I'm thinking about trying their signature cocktail, would that be appropriate?" acknowledges the host's role while expressing your preference. When dining with professional colleagues where payment expectations may be ambiguous, clarify the situation early with discreet phrasing. "Is this a company lunch? Or should I put this on the department card?" Establishes expectations without awkward last-minute confusion at the bill's arrival. For those hosting others, contemporary etiquette suggests being explicit about your intentions. "I'd like to treat you to lunch" clearly establishes expectations, while phrases like "let's grab lunch" may leave ambiguity about whether you're suggesting a Dutch treat situation. As a host, you can guide ordering subtly by making specific recommendations or stating, "The pasta dishes here are wonderful," to indicate an appropriate price range without explicitly mentioning budget. Tipping remains a crucial aspect of dining etiquette in regions where service staff rely on gratuities. While the historical standard of 15% has evolved, most etiquette experts now suggest 18 to 20% as the baseline for satisfactory service in American restaurants, with higher percentages for exceptional experiences. This calculation should be based on the pre-tax total, though many diners now simply calculate based on the final bill for convenience. The tip reflects your appreciation for the entire service team, not just your server, explains Wheeler. In many establishments, gratuities are shared among bussers, bartenders, food runners, and sometimes kitchen staff. Recognize that your generosity extends throughout the restaurant ecosystem. In establishments with automatic service charges, often applied to larger parties, check whether additional tipping is expected. In some restaurants, these charges go entirely to the house rather than directly to servers. When in doubt, a discreet inquiry about whether service is included can prevent both under-tipping and double-tipping. Spatial awareness. The geography of restaurant dining occurs in shared space, making awareness of your physical presence and its impact on others an essential component of etiquette. This spatial awareness extends from how you navigate between tables to your posture and movements during the meal itself. The traditional prohibition against elbows on the table originated in practical concerns. Medieval dining tables were often crowded, and keeping elbows contained prevented encroaching on neighbors' space. In contemporary dining, this rule has relaxed considerably. Modern etiquette authorities, including the Emily Post Institute, now suggest that elbows on the table are acceptable between courses and during conversation, though still discouraged when actively eating to prevent accidental dips into sauces or crowding of neighboring diners. The elbows rule makes more sense when you consider the context. It's about being aware of shared space rather than adhering to an arbitrary position, says Rothenberg. Leaning slightly forward with elbows on the table during an engaged conversation shows interest and attention, which is more important than rigid posture. Your physical presence extends beyond your immediate place setting. When navigating to and from your table in a crowded restaurant, move carefully between chairs without touching the backs of seated diners, a touch that can be startling and intrusive. If you must squeeze through a tight space, a quiet "excuse me" acknowledges the temporary invasion of personal space. Personal belongings present another spatial consideration. Coats should be checked when possible or draped carefully over your chair without extending into walkways. Handbags should never be placed on the table, a surface reserved for food items, but rather hung on specialized hooks under the table edge, increasingly common in restaurants, or placed on an empty chair or between your feet if space permits. Understanding appropriate departure timing also demonstrates spatial awareness. Lingering extensively after a meal, particularly in a busy restaurant with visible waiting customers, shows disregard for both the establishment's business needs and other diners' experiences. Once you've finished your meal, including dessert and coffee, and the check has been settled, contemporary etiquette suggests limiting additional conversation to about 15 to 20 minutes during busy periods. If you wish to continue the conversation after dining, consider moving to the restaurant's bar area if available, or suggesting a nearby cafe or lounge, recommends Wheeler. This allows the restaurant to serve waiting guests while you continue enjoying your company's conversation. Communicating concerns. The graceful handling of imperfections. Even the finest restaurants occasionally make mistakes. A wine might be corked, a steak overcooked, or a foreign object found in a salad. How you address these concerns reveals much about your etiquette understanding and personal grace. The cardinal rule for handling dining imperfections is discretion. Issues should be addressed quietly with your server rather than announced to the entire table or surrounding diners. A simple raised hand or eye contact can summon service staff without disrupting the dining experience of others. When they arrive, explain the issue in a low voice, focusing on the factual problem rather than emotional reactions. I noticed there's a hair in my salad communicates more effectively than "this is disgusting." The former allows the server to address the specific issue without embarrassment, while the latter creates unnecessary tension and discomfort for everyone within earshot. When issues involve food preparation rather than objective problems, such as finding preferences too spicy or a steak more rare than you prefer, contemporary etiquette suggests considering whether the dish was prepared as the menu described it or if it truly represents an error. Restaurants should cheerfully correct genuine mistakes, but preferences that diverge from accurate preparations may be best handled by simply making a different selection next time. Before sending back a dish, ask yourself if it's prepared incorrectly or simply different from your expectation, suggests Bennett. A curry described as spicy that arrives with significant heat isn't a mistake, while a medium rare steak that arrives well done is a legitimate error worthy of correction. For wine service, traditional etiquette allowed for rejecting wines that were corked or otherwise flawed, but not those that simply didn't match your taste preference. Contemporary sommelier service has evolved to be more accommodating, but discretion remains important. If you're uncertain about a wine's condition, ask for the sommelier's opinion rather than making a definitive declaration that might be incorrect. When service recovery occurs, perhaps a complimentary dessert offered after a long wait or a new entree prepared to replace an incorrect order, acknowledge the gesture with appreciation rather than continuing to focus on the original issue. This allows the interaction to end on a positive note and demonstrates your understanding that occasional mistakes are inherent to the complex orchestration of restaurant service. Personal presentation. The often unspoken element of dining etiquette. While dress codes have relaxed significantly in most dining establishments, personal presentation remains an aspect of etiquette that communicates respect for both the restaurant and your dining companions. This extends beyond clothing to encompass grooming, scent, and overall self-awareness. Dressing appropriately for a restaurant demonstrates that you value the experience and have made an effort for the occasion. Research the establishment before arriving. Many restaurants provide guidance on their websites or can offer recommendations when you make a reservation. When in doubt, business casual attire rarely feels out of place, while extremely casual clothing might leave you feeling uncomfortable in more formal settings. Clothing choice is about context rather than rigid rules, explains Rothenberg. The appropriate attire for a beachside seafood shack differs dramatically from what you'd wear to a special occasion restaurant, but both involve making choices that show respect for the environment. Personal grooming contributes significantly to dining comfort. Strong perfumes or colognes should be applied minimally, as they can interfere with others' ability to enjoy the aromas of their food, a particularly important consideration in fine dining establishments where scent plays a crucial role in the culinary experience. Similarly, attending to basic grooming ensures that your appearance doesn't distract from the shared experience. Table manners form the foundation of dining etiquette, with chewing with your mouth closed remaining perhaps the most universally important rule. This practice, taught from childhood in most cultures, acknowledges that seeing partially chewed food is unappetizing to others. Despite scientific findings suggesting that open-mouth chewing might enhance flavor perception through increased airflow, the social contract of dining together prioritizes collective comfort over individual taste enhancement. Voice modulation represents another aspect of personal presentation that impacts surrounding diners. Being mindful of your volume, particularly in restaurants with intimate seating or quiet ambience, demonstrates awareness that you share the space with others seeking their own positive experiences. Animated conversations might be perfectly appropriate in a boisterous tavern but disruptive in a refined dining room. The etiquette of appreciation, acknowledging service with grace. The final component of dining etiquette involves how you acknowledge the human element of restaurant service. Beyond the transactional aspects of ordering and paying, thoughtful diners recognize that they interact with professionals deserving of respect and appreciation. Learning and using your server's name when they introduce themselves creates a human connection that enhances service interactions. Acknowledging their arrival at the table with a pause in conversation shows respect for their role, while using please and thank you consistently demonstrates basic courtesy often overlooked in service interactions. The best diners understand that servers are professionals, not servants, notes Wheeler. Treating service staff with the same respect you'd show colleagues in your own workplace creates a more positive experience for everyone. When special requests or dietary restrictions necessitate menu modifications, presenting these needs apologetically rather than demandingly acknowledges the additional effort required to accommodate them. Phrases like "if possible, I'd appreciate," or "I have a dairy allergy, could you suggest options that might work?" invite collaborative problem solving rather than compliance with demands. Appreciation extends to recognition of service beyond your immediate server. Acknowledging bussers who refill water or clear plates with eye contact and a quick thank you recognizes their contribution to your experience. If a manager checks on your table, brief positive feedback about specific elements of service or cuisine provides valuable information while demonstrating your engagement with the experience. For truly exceptional service, considerations beyond the standard gratuity might include a specific mention in post-dining surveys, positive online reviews that name outstanding staff members, or even a brief note to management. These gestures support the careers of dedicated professionals and contribute to a culture that values hospitality excellence. Conclusion: the evolving nature of dining courtesy restaurant etiquette continues to evolve alongside our changing relationship with food, technology, and social interaction. Rather than viewing these guidelines as rigid rules to be followed without question, consider them as tools that enhance collective enjoyment of a shared experience. The underlying principles, consideration for others, respect for the craft of hospitality, and mindful presence, remain constant even as specific expressions adapt to contemporary contexts. The next time you make a reservation, remember that etiquette serves not to constrain your enjoyment but to elevate it. By understanding these principles, you free yourself from uncertainty about doing it right and can focus instead on the true purpose of dining out, connecting with companions, experiencing culinary creativity, and participating in one of our most enduring social rituals. In a world increasingly characterized by digital distance and casual interactions, the restaurant table remains a place where we physically gather to share not just food, but time, attention, and experience, a reality that makes thoughtful etiquette more relevant than ever before.